and it took me about a week to where I was back to normal.
Right.
And in that period of time, I felt like one of those old television sets, because long before cable vision, and we had to have a tuner in the television, and the tuners never worked well, so you always had to walk up and whack the television on the side of it to get it to work right.
Right.
And that's what my head felt like. I felt like, I could look at you, and I knew who you were, and I knew that I knew you and had known you for a long time. We worked together. Couldn't remember your name. And but I knew that it was there. It's like, okay, I know it's in this drawer over here, but I can't get to it.
Yeah.
And we're all in, and so there were a lot of things like that, but it was mostly just the names of things. Functionally, I could do everything I did the day before. And so the only place that I really noticed a difference mentally was in being able to recall names of things and people. But within a week, that went away. And then it was just, okay, it was an interesting life experience, and what did it mean?
That's the question.
Yeah, and that really was very difficult for me. I struggled from that moment on with, why am I here? And I tried to get books to read, and tried to have some understanding of what this was all about, because it was, even to my meager understanding, it was too well planned to not have meaning.
Absolutely.
It's like, okay, I get struck by lightning, and I don't take a direct hit. It goes through the building, so it loses some of its current, enough to kill me, but not enough to fry me. There's a nurse waiting to use the phone. I mean, please. I mean, it's just too well orchestrated.
That's it.
But I had no idea, and I thought, well, and it is what it is. So I went back to work, and it was within 2 weeks of that injury that is when things started to change. And at that point, I started having this insatiable desire to hear piano music, which was a big departure for me. I grew up as a kid of the 60s. There was rock and roll, and there really wasn't much else. And so I didn't have any piano music. And when I was 7 years old, my mother had forced me to take piano lessons, which I dutifully did. And at the end of that year, I said, thank you, but it's not for me. And so I stopped having anything to do with it. And I went on with just my life as a kid, and not interested in music. So all of a sudden, I've got this interest to hear classical piano music, and it was pretty strange. But it was so strong that I actually drove to Albany, because nobody around here had that kind of music. And so I bought a CD of favorite Chopin by Vladimir Ashkenazy, who at that time was just a famous Russian pianist, and he's now head of the Czech Philharmonic as a conductor. But he had this collection of Chopin music, and I was absolutely smitten with it. I listened to it all day long, all night long, made my friends listen to it, made them listen to it at work. I think they hated it. But, to me, it just wasn't anything better.
Right.
And within a period of weeks after that, I just wanted to be able to learn how to play. But I specifically wanted to learn how to play that stuff. But I didn't have a piano, and I didn't know how. So it was kind of an interesting thought, but after I had that thought the next day, one of my babysitters came over and said, geez, I have this old piano that I want to keep, but I'm moving. Can I keep it in your house for a year?
Mm.
And I thought, hello, okay.
Yeah.
But at the time, it just seemed like, oh, this is great. Now I have a piano.
Amazing.
And so I started to try to teach myself. I bought some books on how to learn.
Mm.
And I also bought the sheet music of all the music that was on the CD. And that was absolutely in Greek. I couldn't understand a word of it or a note of it. So I started trying to teach myself. And I would work I got up at 4, and I would work at the piano till 6:30, and then I would go to work, and I would come home at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I would spend time with my kids. It was my job to give them their baths at night and put them to bed.
Mm.
And it was kind of one of my treasured moments.
Mm.
And then, unfortunately, I would go right back to the piano, and I would stay there until 12, 1 o'clock, till I couldn't even see straight.
Wow.
So that didn't bode well for my marriage, as you might imagine.
Mm.
But I was absolutely possessed and obsessed, and I thought that the music was the only reason that I was still here.
And do you still think that?
No, I think that it's an important part of why I'm here.
Mm.
But I think that there's more than just the music.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the music has something to do with what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that at some point, at least my intuition is that I'm supposed to put the two things together.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done some research about organ frequencies, and the human body resonates at a certain frequency.
Mm-hmm.
The individual organs they vibrate at certain frequencies, and are we able to manipulate those frequencies through music to heal them?
Mm.
So that's something that I'm looking at. And but so then I have 3 months into this story with the lightning, I wake up in the middle of the night after I have this dream.
Mm-hmm.
And in the dream, I'm playing music in a concert hall, and the dream was like an out-of-body experience as well, because I was standing right behind me, and I'm watching me play.
Mm.
And I was playing music that I'd never heard before, and the realization came to me that this music is not somebody else's music, this is mine.
Mm.
And so I started to listen intently to it, and it had a loud ending, and it woke me up out of a sound sleep, and I sat up and I came out to that piano, and I started to plunk out individual notes, but I didn't know how to play, and I didn't know how to write. So it was, initially it was just an interesting, wow, that was quite a dream.
Mm.
But then the next day when I sat down at the piano to start to teach myself, the music from the dream would start playing. And whenever I sat down at the piano, it would start to play. And it would play on the way to work. Sometimes it would play when I was trying to do other things.
Mm.
And it was a lot like a small child. If I paid attention to it regularly, it would not be too intrusive.
Mm.
But if I didn't, it would start playing when I didn't want it to, when I was trying to concentrate on other things.